Hi, folks. We're back. Jimmy.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you again.
Okay, today, before we start, there's a few things that I want to say. And the reason I want to say is because I get a lot of personal calls from people who are listening in. And I stopped trying to play God 30 years ago. But people, for some reason, they know what I've been through, and they call me up asking me for advice. How can they reach Dr. Burton about the cancer thing? I must have got 100 calls from gamblers and wanting to know how I stopped and how. And I can't answer them all. I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why I look like a 100-year-old man and Jimmy looks like a 20-year-old kid. I'm just wiped out. I'm tired. And by the way,
keep them busy. Yes,
there was a couple of people saying that I couldn't have been in big action in any time of my life because I wear the same shirts. And so I want that guy to know that I have a different shirt on today. And I never wore the same shirt twice in all the 18 podcasts. They were all plain shirts, but all different colors and all different styles. And the reason I never wore anything but a plain shirt was because when I first started in this stuff, they told me whenever you're on camera, always don't wear nothing with stripes or boxes or anything. So that's why. But now I'm going to wear my shirts. I have more shirts than Macy's upstairs. And I'm going to start wearing all the different shirts that I have. So in the next 10 or 15 podcasts, you're going to see not only different shirts, but very expensive shirts. Okay. So that's one thing out of the way. The other thing out of the way is last podcast, I talked about the Lacage show, which I'm going to finish up this podcast as soon as I'm done answering some of these questions that I have to answer. And I just want everybody to know that I forgot to give Tom, my friend who does all of this filming, I forgot to give him all the pictures I have of Debbie Evilsider and with George Steinbrenner and with Ole Cassini and with me and her out at nightclubs and with her in the winner circle. And they were really good pictures. So it's too late now, but they're all going to be on my, I'm going to post all these pictures, including pictures of everybody I mentioned before and now and after. It's all going to be, all these pictures are going to be on my website. The website is www.larryrolla.com. So in another week or two, as soon as I wake up from this fog that I'm in, I'm going to post all them pictures, or I'll have Tom do it. And all them pictures with Debbie and Ralph Gigani and everything I mentioned will have my website full of them pictures.
I'll remind you, Larry. Don't worry.
The other thing I want to talk about real quick, there's two other things. I'll make them both real quick, is they heard about Dr. Burton from one of my podcasts. And everything I said about Dr. Burton is true. And it's 1 out of 3 people have cancer. And it's a terrible, terrible, terrible disease. What I said about Dr. Burton back then was absolutely true. And you can find Dr. Burton's number. Just Google it. Just Google IAT Clinic, Freeport, Bahamas. And Dr. Burton passed away of natural causes but Dr. Clements runs that cancer hospital now. The same treatments, the same everything that Dr. Burton created. It's completely non-toxic. It's in fact, after 1 or 2 shots, he takes your blood in the morning, he gives you a shot, and at night he gives you a shot. I can't go into that whole thing because we'll be here until Sunday. But just look up IAT Clinic, Freeport, Bahamas, and that's the clinic. If you have cancer, and just call them, give them a shot. I know that and I stopped doing this because years ago when he first started, the doctors in the States here used to call it quackery, and it used to bother me so much. But just it's for real. He was on 60 Minutes. The 60 Minutes crew went down there for a week. They come home with hundreds of hours of video interviewing Dr. Burton and the patients. And
they can Google that 60 Minutes, sure.
And yeah, that's right. They could Google. But the problem with Google and the 60-minute thing is when they came back with all that, they took 10 minutes. Powers to be took all the good stuff out and put 10 minutes of bullshit on there.
Wow.
But if they wanted to check out Dr. Burton on YouTube, go to YouTube and punch in Gary Null interviews Dr. Burton. There's 3 series, 3 probably half-hour videos, and that will tell you all you know. I know your American doctors are going to tell you not to go, that they have treatments and everything that's good. I'm just telling you, just get a second opinion. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I stopped that 40 years ago. The other thing I want to talk about is everybody asked me about the gambling, because that was my addiction. It was it was my obsession that turned into a terrible addiction. And you have to know that that unlike alcohol or prescription drugs or illegal drugs or tobacco, them substance addictions, gambling is a behavioral addiction, and it's 80% of the people. Well, I checked out a couple of things, and let me just read them to you so you get the whole picture, because people say, how did you stop gambling? Because it's a terrible, terrible addiction. And had I not had a gun at my head and standing in 2 feet of cement that was starting to harden and threaten to be thrown overboard, I probably would still be gambling. And let me just read a couple of things about gambling, because it's a terrible behavioral addiction that is so hard to overcome. And the gambling has the highest rate highest suicide rate.
Yes.
Amongst 1 out of 5 problem gamblers attempt suicide. It's sad.
Yeah, it happened to a friend of mine.
I was one of them guys. It's a difference. Substance abuse is one thing. You could stop that. When you have a behavioral thing, it's almost like you're born. It's almost like it's in your DNA. It's so tough. And gambling has the highest addiction rate than any other disorder. And let me just read this so you'll get the picture. In the United States alone, close to 40 million people bet on sporting events. 71% of them bet at least once a week, and 20% bet every day. The total legal sports betting revenue in the United States alone is about $5 billion a year. Approximate dollars bet with illegal bookmakers every year is $64 billion. And on average, only 3% of the bettors are winners. Over 80% of the people who have a gambling addiction never seek treatment, and the ones that do, more than 80% of them return to gambling. So the only thing I can say is I stopped gambling and I was addicted only because of the situation that I was in. And I guess maybe it's like a doctor saying to stop smoking, and it's very difficult to do anything that's preventative. But when the doctor says you'll be dead in 1 month unless you stop smoking, all of a sudden you stop smoking.
Right.
And that's what happened to me. When I was in a bucket of cement in the middle of the ocean and threatened to throw overboard, as soon as that cement hardened, that's what stopped me. Mm-hmm. So I know that the gamblers that are out there, and like I said, it's a behavioral habit. It's not a substance abuse, it's behavioral, which means it's probably in your DNA, just like me. You love the action. You love going fast. You love winning. And some people say that you even love losing. It's just the adrenaline. It's the dopamine that's produced by your brain. I don't know what it is. All I know is that my situation is different because of the situation that I was in. That's what made me stop. And when statistics prove that that you don't stop, even the ones that go for help, just about everyone goes back. So the only thing I can say to you is I can't preach to you to stop because I know you're not going to stop. So what I'm asking you to do is to at least give yourself a shot. I have a very dear friend that I wish I met before I got myself in trouble and losing millions of dollars betting sports. I met him right after the fact. And his name is Huey. He was the founder of the first sports advisor service in America way back in 1968. And is probably the only person I know that has continually, since then, provided an edge that gamblers need. So for those of you who like to wager on sporting events, check out his website. And the website is simple. It's Hueys Picks, HUEW''S Picks.com. It's loaded with everything you need to know, including his record, his press releases, the write-ups in the Wall Street Journal, the video that he starred in that CBS produced in 1976 called "Gambling in America," and just give yourself a shot. I know you're not going to stop, so give yourself a chance, and call him or text him at 415-910-7440. That's 415-910-7440. And just tell him that I told you to call. Just say Larry Rolla told me to call, and maybe he'll give you some free picks or whatever.
Even if it helps just one person, do it.
They're going to gamble anyway, so at least have an edge. Because Huey, his whole life is sports. Every kind of sport. He knows every statistic. He knows every player. That's his whole life.
Right.
And he was the best at it from the 60s until today. And so my advice is call IAT Clinic in the Bahamas for you people that have cancer. At least get a second opinion. And for the gamblers out there, just give Huey a call. That's it. Okay, now what we're going to do now is get back to the Lacage story where we ended last week. So last week they told me that I was the highest bidder, but the second highest bidder was all cash, and mine was I was going to finance it through the government, and
I just had indigestion, Larry. I'm sorry.
No, that's my dog. That's my dog. He just has to be. He just has to.
He's a ham, in other words.
Yeah, he's a ham. He's mad because I won't let him on camera. But anyway, so let's get back to the Lakash story. You know from last week, and then I'm just going to go back I'm going to go back about a half a year, only because everybody wants to hear about the mob stuff. And I, like I said before,
this was legit. This was
like I said before, I have plenty of mob stories, but I don't have what them guys on the mob channels have, between Michael Franchise and Sammy the Bull and Mikey Scars and Dominic Itali and well, between them guys, they killed more people than I killed flies in my lifetime. I can't. If it's the mob stuff you want, I'm very limited. But I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what happened to me while we were putting together this show. So we're just going to step back a couple of months just to make these people that love this mob stuff. There was a guy. I was staying at Lou Pasioka's condo, and he comes to me one day and he says, an old friend of mine from the neighborhood. His name is Anthony Delapi. He's with the Lucchese family. He says he just got out of jail and he's going to come up here for a while. There's a bit of a problem he has with that fucking psycho gas pipe, Casso. So he's going to come up here for a while. And I'm going to, if it's okay with you, because I was staying at Lou's condo, can he stay with you? Because the condo had 3 bedrooms. It was never a problem. So he stayed there with me, and he was a real nice guy. He was a good guy. And we got along great. And he was all excited one day. I never forget it. He says, Friday night I got a date with this girl that he met at the bar. He was all excited. He went shopping. I'll never forget this. He bought a salmon color jacket, sport jacket. It was salmon. It was beautiful, really, really nice. And he was so excited because Friday he was going to take this girl out. So what happens is one day Lou calls me up and he says, come down here right away. So I go down to the club, and he says, get a hold of Mandy, go to Vegas, and don't come back until I call you. Let me know what room you're in. I says, why? What's the matter? He didn't say nothing. He just take Mandy and go to Vegas. Okay. So I pick up Mandy. Now when I pick her up, when I go to get my car, I noticed that in the condo building they have underground parking. And they have 2 big steel gates that come down for entrance and exit. And the one where you go in, I noticed they had these big. You ever see the sanitation garbage pails that are all metal?
Sure, yeah, containers.
Well, they had one.
Or dumpsters, yeah.
The metal ones that are on the corners.
Yes.
Okay. They had one of them standing up like this. So when the door came down, it broke. It broke the door. So part of the door was down like this, and it was so everybody just assumed that some kids did it. And that's the way it stayed. I took my car, I went out the other way, and I go to Vegas. And I'm in Vegas, a week, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I get a call, okay, you can come back now. If anybody asks you any questions, you were in Vegas, bring proof that you were there and everything else. I come back. That Friday night, when he went to get the girl, they shot him. These cops, Eppilit and
Caracopa. Caracopa.
Yeah, them 2 cops, they because
they moved to Vegas.
Yeah, but that was after the fact. That was after they retired. But they were giving Gas Pipe all the information. They were on the payroll. And the reason Anthony came to Vegas was because Gas Pipe sent for him, but he knew that Gas Pipe was killing everybody. He was a fucking lunatic. So he explained all of that to me. I'm not going to get into that stuff. But anyway, so they shot him. 3 guys come, boom, 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 boom. And the paper said that 1 guy shot him. But they said it was Lou Paciocco's son told me they were 3 guys. And I think he walked them down and he saw what was happening. He ran back in and the 3 of them shot him, and that was the end. That's why that garage door was like that. That's how they got in. So that's my mob story for that particular day. He was a good guy. He was a nice guy, but that's what Madman Casso did. It's just another whack job. He was like a Bert. That's what he was like. He was just like a Bert. And that other guy from
Me and my friend Ciro, every time we used to hear a pinball machine, we thought it was Kabert.
Every day I hear a different story about him, and they get worse. Anyway, okay. So now we fast forward. Now I was told that my bid, even though it was the highest one, it's not going to work. And the problem with that was that when I heard that I won the bid, that the place was going to be mine, I was going to have another grand opening. And I called up Lou Paciocco and Milton Berle and to come down for the grand opening. They flew down, and I'm trying to think if it was when we had it for the Christmas party or not. But anyway, they came down, we had the grand opening. I was informed that I had to get out of there. I tried legally the reason I had to get out was because the people that wind up taking over the place, I invited them to come and see the show. And it was the night that I had Milton Berle come in and Lou Paciocco. I made Lou and Milton sit with me upstairs in the balcony, and I gave them the front table right at the stage. And halfway through the show, I had a table for 10. They had all their family there because they were coming back that week to do the closing and all the legal stuff. So I was sitting upstairs with Milton and Lou, and they were downstairs, and we were watching them. And halfway through the show, we do a number, like a comedy bit. 3 girls come out, all dressed, they were guys dressed in drag. And the name of the song was, "If you don't see what you like up here, you must be dead." But when they come out, they're gorgeous. And as their song is singing, they pull the wig off, the eyelashes off, the thing off. And halfway through the song, maybe a little bit more, there's 3 men just standing there with their underwear. The whole table gets up and they leave. So right away I called for the waiter. I said, "What happened?" He said, "No, everything was fine. They loved the food. Everything was good." "Why'd they leave?" "They just got up and left." Next morning, I go, they were staying at the motel and they were going to go back. They were from India. There were these dot heads with that dot there. So I go in and I says, "Well, what happened? How come you left?" And he says, oh, Larry, we can't have that on our pride. It's against our religion." And
Religion?
I says, "Yeah, I guess it's they're having gay people. What do all I know is what they told me. They can't have this against their religion." So I says, "What do you know? You got to leave. You got to get him out. You got to leave." So naturally, I got a lawyer, the whole bit. The bottom line was they owned the property. I got off, and that was the end of it. Now, when that happened, I had a partner, Sal Sanzaro, and he was another one like you. That life, not like you, that life. You're better looking. He was a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking guy, and but he was into a lot of things, and he had a lot of money, and he was my partner. And we spent a lot of money in that place, and we were going to make a lot of money until this happened. So when that happened, and we had to get out by the first of the year.
That incident with the Indians, that's why you had to leave?
Let me explain something to you. if you have a religion where you can't have gay people be associated with gay people, in India, wherever it is, with these Hindus or whatever they are, they throw them off buildings. They kill them. That's their religion. They believe in that. I don't know what it is, but anyway, you can't stay. So that was the bottom line. They couldn't stay. You can't have no gay people on their
Because
property.
you said the dot.
The dot heads. That's the thing they have. That
I happened to one time I rubbed one off and I won a free Slurpee.
Oh, jeez. I go for the whole lawyer bit and everything else. The bottom line was I got to leave. So now I tell the cast and everything else, and we're making arrangements to go back, and I go to pay for everything, and we see paying all the staff and everything else, and I find out that Sal took all the money, took every penny out of the bank. I'm looking for Sal. He's gone. He's gone. So I was left there with no money, because every penny I had was invested in there, but no money, no nothing. I had to borrow money for the crew, 18 people, to fly back to California, and the rest of the people that were there, I couldn't reach. And I just hopped on a plane and I left. It was a terrible.
It's awful.
It was a terrible thing that happened, because that club today, it would have been. It was, in fact, there was a newspaper. In fact, I have it. I'm going to put. I got a letter from the mayor saying that how grateful they were that I'm there, and it's the best show that's in. It's better than Disney and Universal Studios and everything else.
Just because of two people.
Well, that's it. I'm just telling you the awards that I got, and I was there a couple of months. I got awards from. I have it. I'm going to put them on my website along with Debbie's pictures. I'm going to put all that stuff on the website so nobody thinks I'm lying. I was given a full page, not a full page, 2 full pages. I don't know what newspaper it was, but I have the article. I'm going to give that article to Tom. I don't know how he's going to do it, so it's on the website.
Well, I'm sure Tommy will do it.
And it was telling you how good the show was and how it was better than Universal Studios and Disney and everything else. And that was it. So Sal took the money. So what I did was, when I left, Sal lived in Hallandale Beach, Florida. So I went to Florida, and Sal, I think, I'm not sure, but Sal owned a bar there called Hemingway's. So I go to Hemingway's, and I see Sal, and I said, Sal. He says, I'll talk to you later. You know, naturally, what are you doing here? Da, 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 da. I'll talk to you later. He was talking with some people. While I'm waiting for him, I talked to his partner. He had a guy, Frank. Frank was a nice guy. And Frank says, Larry, you should leave. Don't come back here. He says, I'm trying to get Sal this message. I just found out that they're going to raid this joint. Sal's into drugs. So I have a picture of that Frank sent me, a picture of, so he did talk to Sal. Sal did run, he ran. And I have the picture, I'm 99% sure I had the picture. See, I don't prepare for these shows. I just start. I just start. I'm not prepared. If I was, I would have them pictures here, but I'm not prepared. I'm up all night answering all these questions that come in. I do other podcasts, so I can't prepare, and so it's not scripted. It's just whatever I say. But I will put the picture. I'll have Tom put the picture up of Sal when he turned himself in. I'm almost positive this is pretty correct. He was gone for either 17 years or 27 years, and he came back just recently, maybe a year or two ago. I have the paper, and he said he's tired of running. He was on the lam that whole time, all them years. and he says he just wanted to see, before he died, he wanted to see his kid, the grandkids, and everything else. And I'm glad he came back. I'm glad that he went to see the kids and everything else.
Yeah, with your money, he did everything.
Yeah, that was 50, 40 years ago, whenever it was. It was 1990 or whenever it was. I don't know. So it was 30 years ago. And I don't wish, look, that's the life he chose. But anyway, that's how the Lacage story ended. Another situation where I should have made millions and millions of dollars. Not only that, but had a business and owned the property where today I'd be in really good shape. It just ended because of a certain religion that I couldn't. It was just one of them things. I tried to fight them in court and everything. I tried them to honor my contract, but the lawyers lost, and they just couldn't win. So I had no choice but to end it, and I ended it, and it was just another. It just seems that
It's a shame having the rights to that show. It's a shame.
It just seems that between American Heritage and Modern Age Wall Systems, which is another company I started, that someday I'll get into that, where I had $27 million worth of contracts with between the Gregory Hotel in Brooklyn. Everybody knows the Gregory. In fact, I finished that hotel. It burnt, but it was a historic building, so I had to finish it. I finished it all with acrylic stucco. I won't get into that story. And between the Boulevard building and that company, due to no fault of my own, which I'll explain to you what happened someday, and then Modern Age Lenardi Design Furniture Company, where I had a Hyatt Regency contract for $97 million to do all the millwork on all their hotels. And after factoring and everything else, my profit was going to be $40 million as long as I finished within the time period, which was 10 months. And there was a $10,000 fine for every day after 10 months, but it was going to be $40 million. So due to no fault of my own and a freak story, another freak story. So between them four, there were four businesses that I put together, that I started, that would have made me an extremely wealthy guy. And maybe I should do a podcast about each business and what had happened, because one was Modern Age Wall Systems, where I did the Gregory Hotel, and all you guys from Brooklyn, Gregory Hotel's on 4th Avenue. It's a 6-story building that took up the whole block with an atrium. And the whole thing was gutted by a fire, but they couldn't knock it down because it was a historic building. Go see it now, because I just passed there last year. It's beautiful, and I did that 30 years ago. It's gorgeous. And they turned that hotel into condos. And so for all you guys, that was my work. And then because of a freak accident, it wasn't a freak accident. The contractor, it was a mob guy. And when the winter months come, because you can't put acrylic stucco in when the temperatures are below 40 degrees. So I went to Florida, and I told my partner, Tony, I says, listen, I'm going to Florida to see if I could drum up some work that we can do in the summer months. While I was gone, one of the kids that worked for me called me up, and he says, Larry, he says, I'm not a stool pigeon, but you're a good guy, and your partner is not a good guy. And him and Joe was the contractor for the, I guess it was Gambino crew, maybe it was Sammy the Bull's job. I have no idea. And I didn't care. And he says that they're all this acrylic stucco, it comes in five-gallon pails, and each one was a few $100s. He says they're robbing it all to do another job. Then he's telling me they robbed it all. So I came back and I had a situation, And I rather than get other people involved, and I could have won. But again, I never went to the Gigante crew.
I
Except
would've
for
helped
one
you there.
time. I could have won that situation. But what I did was, my partner was married to my cousin Cookie, the girl who had cancer. And she's alive and well and everything, thanks to Dr. Burton. But I went to see my cousin. And I says, Cookie, and I told her what happened. And she says, oh, please don't have him killed. And I says, I don't do that stuff. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make him an offer. Either he buy me out or I buy him out. So he agreed. He came home and I had to talk with him. And I says, look, I'm tired. I can't stand the winters up here. I made an excuse. So if you want, I'll buy you out, but I'd rather you buy me. He says, I'll buy you out in a minute. Okay, good.
Okay, good.
I says, now listen, we have a check coming for $80,000. You can have the whole business. I don't even want the $80,000, but what I do want is I want you to buy a car for Cookie, your wife, because he had 2 girlfriends. He bought them brand new cars, and I never told my cousin.
Right.
Buy Cookie a car, buy her sister, I call her Palsy, her name is Josie. They were living in Brooklyn on 70th Street and 14th Avenue. Put all new carpeting down, buy them all new furniture and everything else, and give Joanne the $20,000 that her father gave me when I first started. He says, no problem. The bottom line was he didn't do one of them things.
Jeez.
And I came back from Florida, and at that point, I was gonna do something, but he died of a cocaine overdose. So fuck him, and that's the end of this.
Karma
week.
got him.
Yeah. So now I'm aggravated, and we will we'll talk about something else next week. See you guys.
Good night, everybody. Don't forget, if you like what you see, hit like, subscribe, and make sure you get the bell rung to know whenever there's a new podcast with Larry and I. Okay, guys, and tell a friend. Take care. Good night.